we are thrilled to have with us Matt Poll. Matt will reflect on his experiences in a range of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander projects he's been involved in within the Australian and international arts organisations for over the past 20 years. A recent graduate of the Indigenous Arts Leadership Program, supported by Wesfarmers Arts, Matt has been appointed as the Manager of Indigenous Programs at the Australian National Maritime Museum in Eora, Gadigal, Sydney. Previously, Matt has worked as the Repatriation Project Officer at the University of Sydney, as well as the Assistant Curator of Indigenous Heritage Collections at the Chalchuck Wing Museum, University of Sydney, and recent curatorial works include exhibitions of Welcome to Yolngu Foundations and Ambassadors. Matt is the chairperson of Oriana Arts, Mid-Western Regional, New South Wales, and a member of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Advisory Board for Sydney Museum of Contemporary Art, MCA, and a member of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Collection Management Resource Group at the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences, Powerhouse. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you all to Matt. Matt, thank you for being here today, brother. We really appreciate it. And congratulations on your recent appointment.
Hi, Ian. Thanks so much for inviting me today, and thank you so much for that really wonderful introduction.
My pleasure. I hand it over to you, and I'll see you at the Q&A part at the end of today's presentation. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. So thank you, everybody, for joining in today. I'd like to start by acknowledging where I'm speaking from today, which is the lands of the Wangal people in Western Sydney along the Parramatta River. An acknowledgement of country is a political act recognising the sovereignty of Australia's First Peoples, and it's a crucial aspect of all public events that we do these days. The Wangal were just one among many numerous communities spread across the Greater Sydney Basin. They were connected through to the Darkinjung in the Central Coast, the Gandangara of the Blue Mountains, and the Darawal of Illawarra. When we acknowledge Wangal land, we also acknowledge the many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander nations across Australia. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander nations and their cultural knowledges, which were appropriated and transformed into the wealth of the Australian nation, which in turn has built all the institutions of government and society which we take for granted today. So just briefly, to give you a little bit of background of myself, I've been incredibly fortunate to work in the arts for a number of years now. My family connections and my Indigenous ancestry is through the Wadigo family of the Byron Bay region up on the north coast of New South Wales. This is some pictures of my family in the 1930s, actually, who were, and you can actually see what is now Wadigo's Beach in the background there. Quite a special part of the country to many people today. You can actually see another photo down in the corner there of the Wadigo's farmhouse where they all lived. These were incredibly proud South Sea Islander, Torres Strait Islander women, and I just pay so much respect to the guidance and the strength and the resilience that these women taught to me when I was younger. Unfortunately, my grandmother passed away when I was quite young, and I lost a lot of connection to learning so much. But in the short time that I did know her, she was just incredibly powerful in the way that she shaped so much of the way that I see the world today. So it was a very open brief today to talk about this presentation, and working on the Wesfarmers Indigenous Arts Program in Wagga Wagga back in June was a really important opportunity for me to actually reflect on my career a little bit. I've been mostly based in Sydney. I grew up on the mainland, but also what keeps coming back to me throughout so many times throughout my career is these chance meetings and the personal networks that we build ourselves as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders working in the arts community, where we sort of do a lot of the on-the-job training ourselves, and we build these incredible networks. So many times people that I've just sort of met later down the track, just the significance of those meetings have resonated back with me. And In the top corner here, we have Uncle James Ingram, who welcomed us onto country as part of the Wesfarmers Indigenous Arts Leadership Program in June. If we had have known, it was the last week before we had this massive lockdown in Sydney. It was actually, I think, what's carried me through the last couple of months, being able to be so grounded and situated in a very strong, staunch community situation, while learning, while networking, and while sharing. And I'd like to really acknowledge the Wesfarmers Indigenous Arts Leadership Program for giving me that chance to actually personally reflect on my own experiences and to explore a little bit more of some of the connections and the amazing people I've met over the years who've helped me throughout my journey. I actually began my career at Wollongong City Gallery back in 1998. There's something really positive to be said about NAIDOC Week, and especially on the east coast of Australia. We're very familiar with the powerhouses of the Aboriginal art industry since the 1970s, like Papunya Toola, or the art centres that are based in Arnhem Land and different parts of the country like that. But with that big juggernaut of Aboriginal art that was taking off, there was these amazing opportunities for the 300 nations right across the country to develop their own story, to look inward and actually work with their local communities to actually ask the question, what is this experience of the local Aboriginal landscape? And so in 1998, working on a NAIDOC Week exhibition was one of the most daunting yet most incredible experiences that I think set me up in that one exhibition for so many other experiences about listening to community, letting community tell their story, and seeing the incredible beauty in the artistic landscape which exists. Two people, the one on the right of your screen is Uncle Kevin Butler, who was an amazing influence on myself. When I first met him, he'd just recently completed the art that was on the cover of the Stolen Generations Bringing Them Home report. He was making these amazing paintings, and it just felt so incredible to be able to sort of stand in the presence of an artist who was making such a national impact from just such a small regional art centre on the east coast of Australia. Cheryl Davison on the left there was another one whose beautiful work is actually in the National Gallery. I think both Kevin and Cheryl are in the National Gallery, but it really just pushed me towards seeing the Aboriginal landscape through Aboriginal eyes and overturning this, predominant idea of the Australian landscape tradition as it was taught to me when I was at school anyway. I went to high school in the late 80s, and Aboriginal art certainly wasn't on the curriculum in the school that I went to in any case. So it was part of a program run by a place called Enter Arts Media, where several of us actually were placed in different arts institutions across Sydney, Wollongong and the Central Coast. And most of those people that I met through that program are still working in the arts today. There's such strength to be shown from these programs to actually give young, emerging, and other people in the community the chance to actually enter these intimidating spaces of art galleries and museums and different sort of arts cultural industries like that. It just takes a little push sometimes, and the flow-on effects for tourism, for the local economy, for reconciliation and truth-telling, most importantly, just been astounding to me to actually see play out over a number of years. But I always look back to those first experiences just working in a regional art gallery, and I encourage anybody else who's at the start of their careers to actually explore the regional spaces that are out there as places where you can actually get your foot in the door a little bit better and, develop your ideas, understand a little bit how the bigger institutions might work, and take your place from there. After that, I worked at the Museum of Contemporary Art just in visitor services, and I did some public art facilitation at Fairfield and Holroyd councils out in Western Sydney. But I guess in 2005, one of my formal and foremost educational experiences was being appointed the artistic director of the Bamali Aboriginal Artists Cooperative, which was then based in Leichhardt in Sydney. the impact that the founding members of Bamali Aboriginal Artists Cooperative had on the Australian cultural landscape is still being measured. There's been some in-house amazing little survey exhibitions of the 20th, the 25th, the 30th anniversary of Bamali, but nothing really on the national scale that has actually explored just the deep impact. It's not just through paintings and sculptures and installation and film that these founding members have left their mark on the Australian art scene. It stretches out into publications, doing book covers, doing theatrical backdrops for Bangarra, for different sort of organisations. I'll get into this a little bit more, but the cultural renaissance, which was initiated from Sydney and in particular Redfern from the 1980s, is one of those moments in recent Australian history where you can actually see the zeitgeist changing, and people who have largely taught themselves. I mean, several of the Bamali members did go to tertiary art schools, but several of them didn't as well. And a lot of the artists that I worked with at Bamali never even finished high school, let alone went to formal tertiary arts education at universities and things like that. And it really shows you how there's this community authored grassroots from the ground up renaissance. There's no other word to really describe it, that especially the founding members of Bamali, encapsulated. So just briefly, Bamali is today still a powerhouse, and its basic premise, although this has changed over different times for different focuses, it's for New South Wales-based Aboriginal artists who are sort of operating outside that commercial scene. And it's a place where people can, connect together, find other community members to get critical feedback about the type of art that they're making, and foremost, just actually express themselves, to tell their own story on their own terms. Every sort of state has their own sort of this art space which is operated in the same way. But in 1987, when Bamali was formed, it was a radical political act in so many ways. And I was incredibly fortunate when I started there that the chairperson, Mr. Jeffrey Samuels, actually took me under my wing a little bit. And, as a founding member of Bamali, and as a artist who has been participated in every sort of space where he could find the time to fit it into his schedule. Jeffrey's been a mentor and a huge personal inspiration to me, not to mention just an incredible artist. His work is in several major collections. He was still producing work for this year's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Mardi Gras exhibition, which was held at Bamali. I think he's participated in every one of those shows since 2006 and in the earlier versions of that show, which were curated by artists such as Brooke Andrew and Ria. So it's to be in the presence of people who've lived and breathed and actually stood there at some of those foundational turning points in Australian art history was possibly more than I could have ever learned through reading books or, going to universities and other sort of places like that. And it's amazing to see Jeff still producing work today. But that cultural renaissance is really fascinating. If you look on the left hand here, this is a place called The Settlement, and it's another space from the 1980s, which was sort of like an after-school care centre, homework centre. It was a drop-in place for community members who just wanted to catch up for a cup of tea or different things like that. And prior to Bamali, this was the type of space where Aboriginal art in the Sydney region was the crucible of where it was all forming. In the big commercial galleries across Sydney at the time, you have these big bark painting exhibitions and, Papunya Tula paintings, which are selling for extraordinary amounts of money. But in the Redfern community, it's places like The Settlement and the Eora College of Arts, which are developing and nurturing the careers of some of our most incredible artists today. If you see where the arrow is pointing from the picture here, this is the 1985 exhibition, or 86, I think, exhibition, which shows some of Tracy Moffat's photography just on the the cheap pinboard notice board sort of exhibition space. I mean, there's actually something quite beautiful in that as well. But this work is actually Tracy Moffat's portrait of David Gulpilil on Bondi Beach is in permanent collections around the world. It's in the Museum of Modern Art, it's in the Art Gallery of New South Wales, it's in numerous sorts of spaces. But it's really important to sort of bring it back to where all that began, and the incredible sense of ownership of the story of Aboriginal art and culture, as artists at that time made their own paths and made their own pathways. It was the impetus for the creation of the Bamali Aboriginal Arts Cooperative, as well as the Bingara Dance Theatre. Gadigal Koori Radio was like a broadcast network connecting all these organisations at the time. You have film organisations, you have literature, you have all these great organisations with the most humble of beginnings, which have actually grown to take the world by storm in so many different ways. Another great artist that I actually got to spend a lot of time personally with while I was working at Bamali between 2005 and 2009 was Harry J. Wedge. It's hard to put his story in perspective. He was an artist who suffered a disability at a young age, which he was a really bad hip injury. He had a terrible time at school. He'd been in and out of detention centres when he was much younger. Completely self-taught artist, didn't mix his paints properly, didn't do anything like that. Yet the expressive nature of the work that he created and this first-person account of what it was like, living on the mission at Urambi in Cowra was just an incredible, powerful document of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander I guess the protest movement in the 1980s as well. I mean, he wouldn't even do sketches before he started these. He would just paint straight with his brush dipped into the large acrylic bottles of paint, and quite prolific. His resume was probably around 15 pages long. It was an artistic exhibition resume that a lot of non-Indigenous artists of that era who were professionals in the industry would die to have that sort of level of recognition of his work being housed in international collections. But, when I met him, he was still living on the mission at Urambi. He was always doing it pretty tough in terms of, not wanting to sell paintings sometimes because it would impact his Centrelink payments. It's horrifying to think how still, even in the mid-2000s, Aboriginal artists from New South Wales still had to sort of fight for a little bit of recognition and for that little bit of justice towards being treated as, what are today seen as some of the greatest contemporary artists of that era. There were so many international connections which started around that era as well. This is a photo of the Chippendale Bamali Gallery, I believe, with an international conversation taking place between artist Ria, Harry J. Wedge, and the American Indian artist Edgar Heber Birds. Some of these conversations sparked exhibitions in places like Washington and the United States. And they also were showing the power of Aboriginal art as a communication tool, not just speaking amongst Aboriginal nations for the first time in a number of years within Australia, but First Nations to First Nations, conversations that was happening between First Nations people around the world. This is also in the lead up to the year of the United Nations Year of Indigenous Peoples. So many of these small scale conversations actually turned into policies, protocols, statements that have shaped the political landscape in Australia and around the world as well. And, to be able to just work amongst these artists and see, the most humble sort of people that you would meet also having these incredible stories of the work that they had achieved in their lifetime is probably why I say that the experience of Bamali was more formative than anything else that I could have learned in other sort of educational spaces, for example. Sadly, another artist who passed away earlier this year is Uncle Roy Kennedy, who's another amazing artist who I was incredibly fortunate to meet and work with. His memories of growing up on the Warringista mission out in Western New South Wales were another example of a person who he didn't even really start making his etchings until he was in his late 60s, early 70s. And then produced an incredibly powerful series of etchings, a couple of hundred of etchings and a few paintings as well, that show something that was left out of the history books. Most of our archival information about missions and reserves in New South Wales comes down to the records that were kept by the mission managers and the priests who visited, and a few photographic documentary records. But they don't tell you the story as it was known amongst community members themselves. And this is the living memory that especially us younger people today know from working with our elders, is the living memory of what it was like to grow up during the assimilation era in Australia between 1930 and 1970. And just the fact that there was so few records from Aboriginal people themselves, mapping out where people lived on the mission, what different parts of the mission were used for. There's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of disappointment, and some gut-wrenchingly terrifying stories that people tell as well. And they're also intermixed every now and then with these beautiful little stories of community coming together, of people collaborating, learning from each other, helping out each other, just, going fishing together, different sort of things like that, that show despite, the incredibly harsh situation which was imposed on them, they were still resilient, and they still built a community themselves, despite being stopped at every step of the way. So working at Bumali and being with artists such as that was such an incredible experience. And to just go back to the international impact, this is a photo from the Chippendale Gallery, I think, as well, that shows the members of U2, the rock band U2, visiting the gallery, just to meet the artists. I think Gadigal Radio and Bumali Gallery were the first stop for a lot of those international performers in the 80s and 90s as well. It's hilarious when you talk to community members and you hear stories of the people that they've met, and just how important those spaces were as counter narratives and alternative spaces that told a version of Australia's history that wasn't known, and it certainly wasn't promoted by the governments of the time. And so Bumali was also formed right in the lead up to the 1988 bicentenary, those massive protest movements which came from every corner of the country and galvanized themselves here in Sydney. It's taking several decades later, but as different documentary filmmakers and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander historians and authors and artists as well are repositioning this moment in history as for the incredible space that it was. So I finished up at Bumali around 2009, and I was incredibly fortunate to find an opportunity at what was the Macleay Museum. The Macleay Museum is based on the grounds of the University of Sydney. It's a natural history museum. There was at the time several museums on campus. There was the Nicholson for Classical Antiquities and the small art gallery, which was the university art collection as well. But the Macleay Museum was a fantastic space. It had a very problematic collection. I'll get onto that after this section when I talk about the repatriation project I worked on. But it was built, this museum space was built around 1891. The actual building itself was built in response to the Garden Palace fire. If you've ever seen that amazing work that Jonathan Jones did for the Caldor projects in the Royal Botanic Gardens a few years ago, where basically several thousand of Aboriginal objects from East Coast Australia were destroyed in a massive fire. A huge loss of tangible evidence of Sydney's Aboriginal past was actually destroyed in that fire. This museum space was built to the highest standards of fireproofing at the time. And it was a really interesting collection. So there's to not go into too much detail, but the intersection between the pre-Federation colonial Australia and natural history, and places like the Linnaean Societies of New South Wales were actually places where a lot of Aboriginal knowledges were recorded. There's not a lot of Aboriginal ownership over the production of that knowledge that's taking place at the time. But through working at the Macleay Museum for around 9 years or so, I think I was able to really bring that sense of community ownership of knowledge, which I had learned through Bumali, towards a very different collection. Museums and galleries these days aren't that different in some ways, although they do have different agendas and different purposes. But when you're talking with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultural materials, those distinctions which museums or galleries use to classify them in different ways really break down. Artists sometimes come to museums to look for knowledges about manufacturing techniques, about they can look at decorative patterns and motifs and different things like that and explore the use of them in contemporary contexts with appropriate ethical authorization from other community members. Although the ways that a lot of these Aboriginal artifacts and objects were acquired can be incredibly problematic. These days, I think what I tried to do when I was at the Macleay Museum was to let community members themselves guide what happens to these objects and how they actually exist in terms of future community use of those historical items. So there's just a couple of shots. One of the amazing things we had was Rodney Kelly visit the museum. He was just at the start of his campaign for the repatriation of the Guigal Shield from the British Museum at this time. The exhibition on the left there is one called Outlines, which I was incredibly proud of. It was a bunch of New South Wales sourced objects that we were at the time we were just renaming them through consultation with community members in the language groups of the Sydney region, so that we could try and do some language revitalization in the cultural of those knowledges which exist in Sydney. And so you can see the impact of natural history museums really importantly in the work of artists like Danny Mellor. Some of his large-scale drawings where he has actually situated sometimes objects and replaced and placed Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander men and women back into the landscape of these recontextualized where these objects do situate, taking them out of a dusty museum shelf and actually repurposing them back into the landscapes. Danny Mellor was a lecturer at Sydney College of the Arts at the time, and it was fantastic when Aboriginal scholars and teachers would actually use the museum's collections and exhibitions as a teaching tool in that form, not to actually teach them about museums, but to actually help people at the start of their career critically engage with what these objects mean and how to represent them. We don't just display them as a random curatorial choice. Wherever you can make that a purposeful decision to place something the right way around, or to choose to not to show something, is something that takes a lot of conversation, and something that is an important way that contemporary curating practices have sort of developed, and something I was able to see firsthand working at places like the Macleay. The other big project I did when I was at Macleay was working with their stone tool collection. It was I'm certainly not an archaeologist. I wanted to approach these several thousand stone tools we had as if they were, fragments of Aboriginal land. There's sculptural properties, there's knowledges that are embedded in stone tools that sort of tell you how they're made and how people used them over many generations. And, they can show us trade networks which existed thousands of years ago, for example. And, as sometimes they're actually quite beautiful objects in themselves. And I think that was where we also developed this sort of idea of not using archaeological terminologies and names for these objects, but grouping hundreds of stone tools by a language region to actually look at it as a bit of a toolbox, as a toolkit for sort of understanding the breadth of ingenuity that is in some ways the only tangible evidence we have of the deep occupation of every corner of the Australian continent. Just a couple more shots of the exhibition showing the one of the intersections with stone tool manufacture and rock painting, for example, which ochre is a ground up form of a soft rock. When you think of pigment in terms of its geological properties, it's just an expansion of the stone tool repertoire that people have been practicing for tens of thousands of years. Not to mention just can be individually just quite beautiful objects in themselves. So that was actually one exhibition and publication that I was incredibly proud of, and something where I was able to sort of insert that community authored, almost a protest against the way that these objects existed in museum collections, and re-exhibit them in ways that the first layer of people who would understand or interpret them was the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community, and then putting other audiences who want to see these items as heritage artifacts or as, different sorts of scientific knowledges, for example, sort of putting them to the side for the first time and actually allowing the objects to actually speak for themselves. And this led into some incredible other projects, which I've been fortunate to work with through organisations like Orana Arts out in Dubbo in central New South Wales. There was a big ARC project a couple of years ago, led by Robin McKenzie at ANU, the Relational Museum. And it was looking at this idea of just the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of stone tool artifacts, which had been dug up by farmers throughout the late 19th and 20th centuries. And how many of these are actually just sitting in milk crates and boxes, completely, they are evidence of people removing people's native title rights in some ways. When you look at a piece of land these days and they say that there's no evidence of Aboriginal occupation, well, sometimes it's because all that evidence has actually been swept up and put in a box and sent down to a capital city somewhere. It's a massive job in terms of rectifying this unethical practice of acquiring stone tool artifacts. One thing, when I worked on that exhibition, I was getting literally just random stone tools posted to me from right around the country. It was horrifying. And, it led into other ideas where we sort of connected where people were trying to do that with repatriation projects as they existed in different museums and things like that at the time too. But today they still see it as this problem waiting to be fixed when they shouldn't be, because there's beautiful knowledges about where people, you can see on some of these photos here, there's tags. Some of the people who collected them did actually take notes of where they found them. Sometimes you could do residue testing on these things to see starch residues from the type of plants that people were using them to harvest, or where they were located can tell you different environmental knowledges as well of the past before the massive land clearing that took place. So to start with objects and to build that community layer of interpretation into them, which is actually just a simple act of privileging the elders and the community representatives who have the first right of response into terms of interpreting those objects, is something that's an ongoing job for many of us if we want to challenge that. There's no need to exhibit all these things. A lot of these things are incredibly repetitive in terms of, once you've seen 10 grindstones, do you really need to see another 50? But where they have been appropriately engaged with by community elders, there's some fascinating opportunities to lift up all our regional arts centres and museums and historical societies across local towns all across the country. think I might just have to go a bit faster there. So yeah, and it sort of intersected with what I worked with the university's repatriation project. I mean, I worked largely repatriating around 40 sets of old peoples to around 22 Aboriginal land councils across New South Wales throughout that time. You know, the diversity of burial practices that exist across Australia and the diversity of mortuary practices, which was completely overwritten by the pastoral expansion of Australia, is another huge area where we just don't have enough people on the ground working to actually rectify some of those mistakes of the past. And where museums have acquired ancestral remains, there's just no question about the need for those to be returned to communities and reinterred in the lands where they were found, ethically and appropriately and respectfully, which is most important. The history of how people's remains were used by museums is incredibly hurtful, and it's not something to go into here, other than to say that the templates which Australian museums have listened to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community members about are slowly being picked up and replicated in museums around the world. This respect for the dignity of Aboriginal people's wishes in how their remains are actually reinterred is something that I think a lot of museums can't hide from anymore. You know, you can't hide that, oh, I don't know where the provenance of this thing is from, so I don't have to do anything about it. That sort of way of thinking is actually disappearing, thankfully. And it was only due to the work of a lot of community activist-based elders groups who insisted on the return of these remains at their own personal and expense in some cases. So the way that museums and museum collections has been transformed by artists who have been engaging with museum collections and bringing a sense of justice to the way that these collections have been used is an important aspect of how, of where that distinction between museums and galleries doesn't always exist. Through repatriation, I was fortunate enough to attend a museum in Helsinki with Lofty Katakarinja and Sean Angeles here, and Christina Tomo in Helsinki at the Helena Ratuvan Museum, who initiated this project, was an incredibly important experience for an international museum to actually, for the first time, learn how museum objects aren't just dormant collections that were collected 100 years ago and never exhibited. When working with these international curators, they were incredibly emotional to see the way that Sean and Lofty, you know, responded to these objects, speaking to them as if they were ancestors, looking at them, and you know, there was very simple information about where these objects were from, like literally just Hermannsburg stamped on them. But you know, for Lofty to sort of say, and well, no, this is north of here, and this is southeast of there, and this is made by this type of person for this job. You know, just adding an incredible layer and hopefully starting a conversation about the return of some of these collections from museums that were held all around the world is where we can see the impact of the incredible work that we do as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander curators, and through working through networks like the Wesfarmers program. I think we're running low on time, Eon, so I must do another 5 minutes. And
take your time, Matt. The information really? Sharing is so rich. Blackfella time.
Okay, I'll go a little bit over.
No, it's marvelous. Keep sharing.
So in 2020, I was incredibly lucky to work with the Westfield Hospital redevelopment. One of the artists we worked with was Danny Mellor. So you can sort of see the circular thing coming back where, you know, you meet artists like you do in the programs through the Indigenous Arts Leadership Program. And then down the track, you're sort of working with them in completely different contexts. It was amazing to be able to just help facilitate artists like Danny to do this 60-meter photographic mural and commission it into the entrance space at the new Westmead Hospital. You know, actually being out there on the river with him while he was taking photos, which he was, you know, reinterpreting into this massive design. Another fantastic artist that we worked on with this project. So essentially the gathering space at Westmead Hospital was one of the first opportunities for a major hospital redevelopment to build cultural safety into the spaces where Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander members who were using those hospital facilities would meet. You know, sometimes they're very joyous occasions, like the birth of a young child. Sometimes it's quite personal, sad situations, you know, with someone at the end of their life. But, you know, when we heard stories about people who were doing smoking ceremonies out in the car park, it was all that the hospital really needed to hear to actually build a dedicated space where community could gather, where there were artworks that referenced the local history. Westmead Hospital is right on the Parramatta River, for example. So one of the key sort of artwork themes that came out through that was, you know, just the meeting space. It's also the border of several Western Sydney language groups, for example. So it was a gathering space. It was a space where people could actually just share culture without sort of, you know, doing it on the fringes of an institution like a hospital. And I think it's had some great impact across several new developments that have been built as well. This is one where I worked. This is the Tools of Knowledge, with several other community members who had worked on archaeology heritage assessments in the Parramatta region, for example. And we found examples of these 3 stone tools that were located not far from the Westmead site. And we scaled them up into 3 benches, which sit at the gathering space as well. Just a simple reinsertion of, you know, what are 20,000-year-old knowledges, and repurposing them into, you know, functional spaces where people can actually sit and have conversations and talk and gather together. Just lastly, I mean, the 12 years that I worked at the University of Sydney, 9 of that was with the Macleay Museum. And then I was incredibly fortunate to spend the last 3 years watching that museum transform into what became the Chow Chuck Wing Museum. And there was some incredible support from across the university in regards to things like the Wingara Mura architectural strategy, where we were able to listen to different community representatives and build their perspectives and feedback into the actual architectural fabric of the new building. One of those was actually creating a smoking space, ceremonial space within the new museum as well. Doing smoking ceremonies when we moved collections into the space. For the first time, a lot of those collections were welcomed not as objects, but as representations as representatives of different nations from across the country. So working very closely with the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, it was fascinating to be able to see a museum of the 21st century, you know, from the ground level up. And one of my personal favorite aspects of that was also going back to people I'd met much earlier in my career, like Jeffrey Samuels. This is a photo of him he's done all these acknowledgements of country for the new Convention and Exhibition Centre at Darling Harbour. But also he did a stack of drawings of language maps, which were used in the display, in the exhibition cases, to depict areas where particular assemblages of objects were from. And yeah, it was like my personal highlight to be able to go back to Jeffrey and sort of, you know, recognize the incredible impact that he'd had on my career, and also build that into the new Ambassadors exhibition, which is in the space as well. It's an incredible exhibition space in the museum. And there was lots of other, like the sandstone colors and different sort of things like that were sort of taken from conversations and community consultation groups. Through volunteering with places like ANCAR, the Association of Northern and Kimberley Art Centres, over several years, and attending places like Darwin Aboriginal Art Fair, I was incredibly fortunate to actually meet community representatives. This is some Larrakia community representatives, for example, and let them design the exhibition as it was. You know, instead of me being a curator, just selecting the objects, placing them and things like that, the community helped me write a whole new layer of interpretive information. And that's like renaming 100 objects from 25 different language groups spread across 8 different exhibition spaces. The community members came up with the exhibition titles. Before the lockdown and things like that happened, there was some great opportunities to create internships for community members, draw upon their needs in the education program, for example, and even stock items from the art centres in the museum shop. And we were able to achieve some of those things with various degrees of success, but also there's still a long way to go in terms of how much more we can actually be doing. You can see it in museums' reconciliation action plans. There's actually easy ways to demonstrate some of those achievements, which are spelled out in those action plans. Through looking at the collection that you have and identifying who are the people that are the most authorized to speak on behalf of it. I was incredibly lucky that so many art centers were just so welcoming and, wanted, when you do a consultation, you don't just randomly walk up to any member of the community. You go through the welcome to country, and you sometimes wait. It might be days, it might be months, but when you are invited in, you take that opportunity and you listen to the teachers and the professors and the authorized community members as they exist in different communities. And through letting them shape and guide how different exhibition spaces were built, I think we were able to create an entirely new form, not a new form, because it's based on the protocols of respect that elders have always been teaching me throughout my career, for example. But we were able to build that consultation process into the exhibition outcomes. That was the simple goal. And I think there's some great examples where you can see where that actually took place. You can also see that here with the Yolngu bark paintings exhibition that we were able to do as one of the major launch exhibitions of the new museum as well. So on the left here, we have this amazing bark painting collection that we were working with from 1946-47, and Yalpi Yunipingu and Wannabe Marika as senior community members came down, and we basically mapped out the exhibition on the floor with large sheets of paper. It was too much. They're quite fragile, some of these paintings, so it wasn't a matter of using the objects themselves, but for them to see the objects closely and then to think about them, we were able to sort of transform that into the actual outline of how we displayed the exhibitions, even in terms of replicating that experience of laying them all out on the floor and mapping out the different paintings and their relationships to each other as thematic groups came from those initial discussions where we were able to let community guide us and author us and, teach us. Just because it's a university doesn't mean that you can be taught new things. So yeah, to get back to how I sort of have been working in recent years that led up to the leadership program, it's through volunteering and inserting yourself at that community level, volunteering at places wherever you have to, instead of, expecting community to give you knowledge. When you sort of insert yourself into the social space of where community are coming from, you realize just how one-sided that idea of curating is, and the benefits of actually working alongside community members and letting them guide what happens is where you get far better results and far better ethical results. This is when we were visiting Kakadu and just outside Jabiru. It's an outdoor museum. It has like 5,000 sites of particular rock paintings. It's like a museum without walls. They described it to us. One of the most incredible art galleries in the world. And, there was like 2 or 3 rangers at most who looked after all those 5,000 sites. I mean, imagine that within a museum and just having like 2 or 3 security guards for some of the world's most treasured artworks. There's just an incredible amount of work that needs to be done in terms of resourcing at the ground level, not just our art centers and community museums and keeping places, but the people who maintain country. If you want to think of the the landscape as a museum in itself, preserving all these Aboriginal knowledges, there's just so many roles that need to be played, and there's so much decision making that needs to be undertaken by community members that we've only really touched the tip of the iceberg in terms of the work that we could be doing. And just lastly, to sort of show some of the work that I'm currently working with at the Australian National Maritime Museum. So, so much of that work in relation to lands rights activism, which I learned from those community leaders from Redfern, for example, it was an eye-opening experience to me to realize how sea rights is actually an incredibly new area of not activism, but in some senses, in terms of recognizing Aboriginal people's knowledges over the seas and waterways and rivers and estuaries, and how to think of these spaces and environmental spaces in the same way as we think of land and land rights, and recognize Aboriginal people's knowledges as they are represented in art, is where we have these, the job's never finished. I think that's actually one piece of advice I could give to anyone who's working in the arts. And sometimes when you get like really frustrated and you just don't see an end in sight, I think, the trick to that is to realizing that there is no end in sight, and things are just constantly evolving and growing. And, we're overturning this monolith of colonialism, which was built over the top of 300 or more Aboriginal nations. But the work that we do as curators and, as arts workers is where we can actually change that narrative for the better. So this is the Gapu Monarch saltwater bark painting collection, which is held by the Australian National Maritime Museum. And it is actually, as there's a big new project in relation to underwater archaeology, for example, but these are lands that have been submerged for thousands of years, where they're finding different types of stone tool artifacts and things like that. Who are the community authorities, and how do we recognize Aboriginal people's rights to these objects and these knowledges which are made by their ancestors but don't fall under the modern borders that we have on our continental land map. So not to mention some of the amazing First Nations to First Nations connections and histories that sort of ties back to my own personal story of the South Sea Islanders who were brought to Australia through North Queensland and through the Torres Strait in the late 1860s to 1900s. And how do we actually, and my goal for myself really is to overwrite those different sorts of borders, and through the artistic engagement practices which I've learned over the years, just build a space where thousands more people have the right to assert their own authority over their knowledges and their rights to country and land and seas and skies. I think that's it from me.
Thanks, Matt.
I can't hear
you. Some technical issues, that's all right. Thank you so much, Matt. I mean, what an extraordinary examples and exemplars of different ways of working with the diversity and the spectrum of our peoples. Tasha had very similar diversity in the last presentation she did, in the sense that it was a full spectrum of ideas and ways of working, because it's not one way works, and to see all of those different ways of working is extraordinary, Matt. So thank you so much for sharing that. And also thank you for sharing all of the history behind how we've arrived where we've arrived today. That was really quite special. Everyone's commenting, it's buzzing all over the place. You're a superstar, Matt. I have 2 questions, and if anyone has any questions, please feel free. I'd much prefer to hear your questions than my questions. But Matt, one question I have for you at the moment is, how do you think the glam sector galleries, literature, museums might look like for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander arts workers and our culture in, say, the next 5 years? What might that look like?
I think it's going to be more, it needs to be more connected. I think we've seen it recently in those discussions about, where should the national art gallery of a national Aboriginal art gallery go? Should it be Adelaide, Alice Springs, Darwin, Perth? Everyone's sort of putting their hat in the ring for this one national monolithic museum. Whereas we already have probably 200 art centres across the country, and we need to find much better ways to resource all those museums and galleries so that people are just connected better. And, that can be through loans, through places like the National Museum or the National Gallery or things like that. I think within 5 years' time, with hopefully the one positive from the experience of all these online meetings that we've been doing the last couple of years, we've actually realized that, distance isn't that important, and there's no excuse really for not talking to the people who need to be spoken to first about how to do that well. Because it's not the same seeing an exhibition on a screen. I totally get that. I don't particularly enjoy it. You still need to physically be in a lot of these places, and that's the key to where we want to be in 5 years' time. But it's about finding a better way for people to transfer their skills that they learn in one part of the country to another part of the country, or to change from one aspect of the arts industry to another aspect of the arts industry. Some of the best curators I've met have been, from the theatre world or, from dance, different things like that. There's a very interdisciplinary nature, which is a key to really great arts projects. And I think in 5 years' time, we really need to understand that better, instead of putting everyone in their little boxes and sort of, just specializing in one particular thing. The less we specialize in, the better, I think. And the more we connect better through not specializing.
It's interesting you say that. Sorry.
No, I was finished.
It's interesting you say that, Matt, because of course, when we reflect on the oldest living education system in the world, it's song, story, and dance. And it is that multi-connected, that interconnected way of doing the arts. It's combined arts, very interesting. We have a whole bunch of wonderful people streaming in. We've got Kimberly Moulton streaming in. We've got Tasha James. We've got Barangal Wadri. How fabulous. We adore you all. Ray, lovely to see you here. Of course, Helen from West Farmers, thank you so much. We have from Kimberly Moulton down at the National Gallery of Victoria. Her question is, thank you, Matt, and wonderful to hear you speak. I wanted to ask your thoughts on the ways to take the museum out to community. Physical objects, knowledge, keeping places, etc. Have you had projects that have done this successfully? Thanks for the question. Very good question.
Wow. That two-way street's really interesting because, you do need to have quite good facilities to take really old materials or fragile materials, for example. But that's not to say that you can't connect with contemporary artists to bring those sort of knowledges back into museums without sort of putting the horse before the cart. I mean, it's about just building better facilities and resourcing them better. There's no shortage of communities that would like to see some of these things that have been in museum storerooms for decades and probably have no plans to be exhibited, actually being exhibited, safely and culturally safely in the places where they're supposed to be. Because it's not the same when you take just a big folder of photos out. But I think there's a role there for organizations like IATSIS in different sort of places in that world where they have the sort of missing parts of the information. One of the most frustrating things working as a curator is, one part of the object is in one institution, another part of it is in another. In between that, there's photographs of the event in a different space. So I think especially the national focused institutions really need to develop a better framework of information sharing so that if we wanted to look at all the Wiradjuri objects together and do consultations out on country at our fingertips, we could sort of show people that, we're not hiding where this is as museum workers. It's just that it's distributed in so many different places, all these little parts of knowledge and parts of information that sort of need to be brought back together to give communities a clear idea of how to make those decisions. But there's definitely chances to develop a national touring program, that's done respectfully. You don't just put one nation's objects on another nation's music exhibition space without a huge conversation taking place underneath that. So it's these forums where we can actually talk and make those connections and reanimate the song lines, for example, and sort of show that there are deeper connections with communities, with nations that are thousands of miles apart, for example. So yeah, it's a really great question, and it shows you just again how much more work we need to be doing. I mean, so many of us are focused just on the exhibitions and collections in our own institutions, let alone, you don't often get that permission to go out and help out other institutions unless there's a demonstrable purpose for it. So I think we just have to get better at collectively, using our voice through networks like Wesfarmers Indigenous Arts Leadership Program, and actually putting plans together, because if we wait for them to be given to us, it's going to take forever. We really need to actually build our own little thing here and show people what it is so that we can connect the right resources to it, because I think the resources are out there too, but it's that gap between what people want and what they need, and how we can actually make that happen. That is the really exciting space that we need to be working at. And that is probably more touring exhibition stuff, as Kimberly was saying. So yeah, I mean, the more we can tour around Australia and around the world even, the better it is in terms of the long-term knowledges which become attached to these objects.
Yeah, definitely. And Kimberly and Ray and Tasha, of course, are all Indigenous Arts Leadership Programs supported by Wesfarmers alumni. So, we continue to platform those stories, I think, are really important, because everyone has such wonderful ideas, which is exampled in what you've been doing and throughout your career, Matt. And we're so thrilled that we have you there at the National Maritime Museum of Australia. You're going to do great things, so you should be rightly proud. And thank you so much for being involved in the leadership program this year and graduating. We're thrilled to have you as now an alumni of the program, continuing that legacy forward, and wonderful to have you streaming in from Darug country, I believe. Yes. Wangal country. So thank you so much, Matt, and thank you everyone for watching today. And we hope to see you all again very soon. Thanks.